Good morning, good afternoon, good evening internet, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Economical Rides. Hi there, it's time to get inappropriately excited. Yes, for once I get to ride a bike that I don't actually own. So today I am riding the demonstrator Super Meteor 650 from Motos Meteor in Almeria, Spain, my Royal Enfield dealer. And for those of you who have stumbled across this and you're not familiar with my channel, just for context, I own a Meteor 350 and a Classic 350, and I only do videos with my own bikes normally. So I'm not actually a reviewer, which will probably become apparent during this video, but this is actually a test for me because I'm a potential customer for this bike. So I am actually genuinely testing it, not to review it, but to see whether I'd be interested in buying one. So having said that, let's have a little look at the bike in some detail before we go for a decent ride. Right, so the bike we have here is the base version. So this is an Astral Blue Super Meteor 650. Now the Astral specification begins at 7,250 euros. The next step up would be the Interstellar, which gives you two-tone paint with gold pinstriping. That comes in at another 250 euros more expensive at 7,500 euros. And the top of the range version, the Celestial, that comes in at 7,750 euros. So across the three different specifications, the prices range from 7,250 to 7,750 euros. The Celestial is the touring version, so that comes with a touring screen, the touring seat, the pillion backrest. So the Celestial is definitely more a long distance cruiser, but you can fit all of the parts to the base model, obviously. So if you just wanted the touring seat, you could fit that. If you just wanted the touring screen, you could fit that. So this is the base model. This is the Astral Blue for 7,250 euros. So the engine is the same engine used in the Continental and Interceptor 650s, but in this bike it is tuned for a wider spread of torque and also has an exhaust system to complement that. This engine produces 47 PS at 7,250 RPM and 52 Newton meters of torque at 5,650 RPM. Fuel economy seems to be in the range of 62 to 85 imperial miles per gallon. So this 15.7 litre tank should give you a range of about 400 kilometers or 240 miles. If we take a equal mix of urban and extra urban riding, that should be your normal range, 400 kilometers or 240 miles. In terms of wheel sizes, the Super Meteor has a 19-inch front wheel coupled with a 16-inch rear wheel. It wears Seat Zoom Cruise tyres, which were developed specifically for this bike. It's got quite a wide rear tyre, I'll show you that. There you go. Suspension wise, we have twin shocks at the rear, and these have 101 millimeters travel. And at the front we have, and this is a first for Royal Enfield, Showa upside down forks. And these have 120 millimeters of travel. The rear spring damper units are adjustable for preload, as you would expect. And of course, because we're using cast wheels, we are running tubeless tyres, so that may be of interest to those of you who worry about getting punctures. I'll just give you a general walk around here. So as I mentioned, this tank has nearly 16 litres of capacity, 15.7 to be exact. The bike has a curb weight of 241 kilograms, so it's a bit of a hefty beast, but it has a reassuringly low seat height of 74 centimetres, at least with this standard seat. The touring seat may differ. So this is a 300mm disc, coupled with a 320mm at the front. So this is actually a very large rear disc, and even on the short ride over here I did notice that the rear brake is very powerful. If you own a Meteor 350, as I do, the instrument panel will be very familiar to you. It's basically the same, with the exception that the speedo goes up to 200 kilometers per hour. This bike won't achieve that. I think it will do about 160 kilometers per hour, so almost exactly 100 miles per hour is the top speed for these bikes. But here we have the mixed digital analog display. So we have this LCD section at the bottom, and that has various trip meters. That's the odometer, trip meter A, trip meter B. There will also be a trip meter F, which counts down automatically once you get down to the last bar on the fuel gauge. So that's like a reserve odometer. You won't see that until the fuel level's low. So this bike has currently done 26.6 kilometers. As on the Meteor, you have your gear indicator here, and you also have an eco gauge which should be displaying when you're riding economically. If you're giving it too many beans, that will disappear. In terms of the overall quality, very nice grips here with metal bar ends. These controls, this is all metal here, this is aluminium presumably, so it's not painted plastic, so they make a very nice first impression. The levers are great, they feel nice. The controls are again the same as on the Meteor. You have your ignition, kill switch, starter, indicators, and on this side we have your headlights, low beam, high beam, and also pass flasher. Here we have the horn. Here we have the indicators. Sorry, here. You see, I'm not a reviewer. Here we have the indicators, okay, and on this side we have the hazards. So these are your hazard warning lights. Good. Okay, so we've clarified that. So anyway, probably enough chit chat. There you can see the tops of the shower forks, very lovely. I think we probably need to go for a ride. Oh, I forgot to mention, both levers are adjustable here and here. So enough chit chat. Oh, I know what we can do. So before we set off, I'll just give you a quick listen. it's quite civilized. It's a pleasant sound, but it's not terribly loud. So there it is in all its glory. Enough chit chat, let's go for a ride. So I have a route planned. It's going to take us through the city so I can get a feel for how it handles in the city. Then we'll take a run along the seafront, and then I'll hit the motorway. We'll see what it's like on the motorway. Unfortunately, there aren't many twisties around here because it's a bit flat, but there is a road that I think I can get to in the time that I have with the bike, so I can give it a quick go on the twisties as well. So that's the route I have planned. Let's see how that works out. Join me on the bike in a moment. Right, so before we set off into traffic, I'd just like to do a quick test of paddling the bike around, because that is something I will have to do at home to get it in and out of the garage. And I know it's a bit of a heifer lump, this bike. It's heavier than I'm used to. So just for now, I'm going to paddle the bike without the engine. Yeah, that's not too bad at all, because you've got such a low seat. It's fairly easy. You get a lot of foot on the ground. On tarmac at least, I have plenty of traction. I'm now reversing uphill. I'm not sure how it will be at home where I've got gravel, but certainly on tarmac it's easy to move the bike about without the engine running, so that's good to know. So I'll just do a little bit of low speed maneuvering so you can see how easy that is, because it really is. It handles very well at low speeds. I mean, bear in mind I've only ridden this bike for about 40 seconds, but already I feel confident in confined spaces. The weight's nice and low down, the bars are nice and wide, you have quite a decent amount of lock. So yeah, at low speeds it's absolutely fine. So let's go. So I rode over here on my classic 350, which has quite a plush ride really, and my first impression of this bike is that the suspension is a little bit firmer. But it's probably slightly softer than the Meteor 350, and it's certainly good quality suspension, much better quality than the aforementioned bikes, I'm sure. So we're currently chugging along in second gear. We can see if we can get into third in a minute, but it's a 30 limit here, so we can't really go crazy. So the Super Meteor has mid-front placed controls, so similar to the Meteor in that respect, but the difference here is that we don't have a heel and toe shifter. It's standard, I believe, in India, but they've obviously decided for export markets they're not going to fit the heel toe shifter, which I actually miss. I find myself struggling to find a shift lever at the moment from time to time. I'd be much happier with a heel toe shifter. I really enjoy it on the Meteor as well. So yeah, but I'm sure it will be available as an accessory, and it's definitely something I'd consider getting, because I think it suits this style of bike, and it's just something I've become used to on the Meteor. Well, great credit to Royal Enfield for this bike, because I'm not somebody who rides a lot of different bikes. As I said, I'm not a reviewer. I only ride the bikes that I own normally, but this is a lot heavier, has more power than my bikes, but I feel at home already. It's It's not intimidating at all, and yeah, after a few hundred meters on this bike I already feel at home, so that's a good sign. Now allegedly you could lug this about in 4th gear, almost at walking pace, and it doesn't try to stall on you. I won't be trying that, but certainly in 2nd gear you don't have any problem at all going along at walking pace without the clutch. Yeah, the only thing is I am looking a little bit for the shifter and the rear brake pedal at the moment, but probably another 5 minutes on the bike and I'll no longer consciously be looking for them. I'll just know where they are. So we're up into 3rd gear now, and I'll just leave it there. We'll see how it copes at low speed in 3rd. No problem. Not getting much luck with the traffic lights today. I've still got another hour and a bit with the bike, so I think we can get the planned route done. So now we'll head for the beach. Yeah, you definitely feel at home right away on this bike. As I mentioned earlier, the rear brake, because it's such a big disc on the rear, it's very powerful. So it's probably a bike where you need quite a bit of rear brake to get it stopped as well, because it's a heavy bike. But if you use both brakes together, I'm sure it will pull you up in no time. The front brake feels nice and sharp actually on this bike. Yeah, maybe not totally sharp, could be a bit sharper. It's about on the par with my Meteor, I would say. So hopefully we'll get out of the traffic soon and we can get beyond 3rd gear. Oh yes, it definitely copes with speed bumps better than the Classic and the Meteor. That's probably that good quality suspension coming into play there. Seems to actually be doing something. So what do we think of it so far? Pretty good. Just really friendly, really easy to get on with, despite its weight. I mean, with the weight being low, with the seat being low, you don't really feel the weight. I can still move the bike around quite comfortably. Yep, no, that's fine. Obviously I wouldn't like to pick it up if I dropped it one day, but that's a whole different story. Yeah, the thing that impresses me most is really just how quickly you feel at home on this bike. It really isn't difficult to ride, and it's so different to what I'm used to, but I already feel quite confident with the bike. The clutch has a nice feel to it. In traffic I've just been feathering the clutch, or in the slow manoeuvring as well I was feathering the clutch, and it was doing exactly what I wanted it to do, to the right degree. So far I haven't noticed any snatchiness on and off the throttle, which to a degree can be present on the 350s. I think that varies from bike to bike actually a little bit, but no, on this bike the throttle seems smooth. Well, this really is a treat, riding somebody else's bike. So, for those of you who don't know the channel, here in fairly rural Spain, dealers tend not to have any demo bikes, or if you're lucky they might have one, but the chances are it's a bike that you're not interested in. So I don't get to do many test rides, so this does feel like a rare treat, particularly because it's a bike that I'm actually interested in. So we're up into 3rd now. at 40 kilometers per hour. It's quite happy in third. There's the sea. Okay, so now we are in fourth gear, and of course we have another red light. Oh yes, if I'd hit that speed bump at that speed on my Meteor, I'd probably need a visit to the doctor. That was very good. Fifth gear, there we go, fifth gear. We've still got another one to go, but that's an overdrive on these. So we'll leave it in fifth for now, and just let it chug along. So that's 60 kilometers per hour in fifth gear, no problem at all. There we go, 50 kilometers an hour in fifth gear is no problem either. Picked a good day for a test ride. It's a little bit windy, but it's dry and sunny and pleasantly warm. I think it's about 18 degrees today. Oh, the surf's up. Look at that. There's some big old waves there. Surf's up, dude. Yep, 50 kilometers per hour in fifth gear, and it's quite happy. I'll stop here, see if I can get a thumbnail. So let's see how it copes with this roundabout in fourth gear now. No problem at all. So how am I feeling about it so far? So far I'm thinking it's actually nice. It doesn't feel significantly larger, heavier than my Meteor 350. Very quickly get used to it. It doesn't intimidate me at all. So this road takes us towards the airport, and then from the airport I can hop on the motorway, do a little motorway test. So on this road now I can get into a proper cruising position. I've got my backside all the way back in the seat, my feet out in front of me. And yeah, I had heard that some people said that with this seat the handlebars are a bit of a reach. I'm not finding that actually. I'm finding that the handlebars are exactly where I'd like them to be. Maybe some people have shorter arms than I do, who knows. Oh, this looks nice. I'll try not to get the demo bike too dirty here. Mind you, it wasn't that clean to begin with, to be fair. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, there we go. So far, haven't missed any shifts. First to second's usually a little bit of a tricky one on a tight gearbox. but every gear's gone in as requested so far, so no complaints on the gearbox and the clutch front. Everything seems to be pretty idiot proof. Right, well, after getting briefly lost, I have made it to the motorway, so we'll just give it a quick motorway test and then I'll turn off and hopefully try a couple of twisties. But so far everything has been hunky-dory. Oh yeah, you don't have to twist the throttle very far for it to pick up. It's got some go, definitely. A fair bit more than I'm used to. Well, I've got a lot of wind and I think we've got a headwind at the moment as well, so apologies if it's very windy in the audio. Not a lot we can do about that. It's a very windy day again today. So this is 100, let's go up to 120. This is in 6th gear. And it's effortless. I mean, I've got so much throttle left. So if we do a roll-on acceleration at 120, full throttle, that's 130 already. And with 6th gear being an overdrive, if you need to accelerate even quicker than that, just drop it down into 5th and give it the beams. So I'd say at 120 k's, let me just feel that again. Yeah, once you settle into it, I think it's okay. Yeah, I'm getting slight vibes through the bars and pegs. Not sure whether that would be my ideal cruising speed. I think at 110 things would be a little bit smoother and a little less tingly. I'll have to give that another go actually. I've got another bit of motorway coming up here. So this is 100 k's. And I'm not really feeling vibes through the foot pegs, a little bit through the bars, but as the speed increases I do start to get a bit more through the bars, and at about 110, there we go, it's just starting at 110, I'm getting vibes through the feet. So yeah, certainly I wouldn't, personally I don't think I'd be cruising at 120 on this bike. Maybe the vibes will get less as the engine improves, who knows. But yeah, that felt quite vibey to me, and I wouldn't be happy at that speed. At 100 k, 60 miles an hour, bike and rider are both happy. So a little way down here there should be an exit, and I think that takes us up a road with a couple of bends in it, and then it'll be time to take the bike back. So as you can probably hear, the wind's incredible and it's coming from all directions, so probably we're not going to get it lent over too much on this road. Goodness me. So I don't know if I'll get an impression of the handling on this road. It's not really the day for it, but on the roundabouts and things I've had the bike lent over a fair amount. Oh, blimey. And it's gone over very easily. I think it's a piece of cake to ride, but obviously with the wind trying to push you in all directions, it's not ideal. Not ideal at all. So we're up into 5th now. We'll see how we go through this bend here. It's a bit of a sweeper. Yeah, the bike's already moving in the wind. Goodness me, the front wheel moved without me doing anything. But yeah, even though I said at the beginning that the suspension felt quite firm compared to the Classic, the ride quality is definitely better. You can feel that the suspension is really doing its job, and all of a sudden when you hit a speed bump or something, it absorbs it really well. But on a sort of minor imperfections, you might think it's quite stiff. So it is quite stiff, but it's a suspension that definitely does its job when required. There you go, there's some bends for you. Lovely, yeah, no problem. I feel quite confident leaning this bike over already, at least when the wind's not trying to push me the opposite direction. It's all good. Yeah, I love the handling. It's very reminiscent of the Meteor 350. You can just swing it through the bends. It's really enjoyable. And obviously this has the added advantage, it doesn't really matter what gear you're in, it's got the power to accelerate back out of the bend, whereas with the Meteor, on an uphill exit, obviously you're eager to carry corner speed so that you don't have to change down coming out of the bend. But this bike won't really worry, I'll just leave it in fourth here. We've got an uphill exit, and I'm sure it will just pull cleanly out of here. Yeah, no problem at all. We'll leave it in fourth. We're still climbing. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, this will be a lot more fun to ride on a road like this than the 350, just because you haven't got to worry about keeping the revs up all the time. Be a lot more relaxed. We'll watch that wind. Alright, there's a car park here. I've never been here before actually, but there's a car park apparently, so we can turn around in there. And I'll just give you my initial conclusions, and then I'll get the bike back before they start writing the invoice for it. Well, that's not what I call a parking, but anyway, fair enough. Let's do a bit of light off-roading while we're here. It's not a bad view, is it? So, there you go. That was my brief test ride of the Super Meteor 650. Thank you very much to Motos Mattia for lending it to me. So how do I feel about it? Well, to be honest, there's one thing that is worrying me slightly, and that is those are the vibrations at 120 k's. I wasn't expecting that because according to everything I've heard, this engine is very smooth. So, sorry for the technical difficulties at the end there. So how do I feel about the Super Meteor 650 overall? Well, overall I really liked it. As I mentioned in this video, the first thing that really struck me was just how easy it is to ride. I thought I might struggle to get used to a larger, heavier, more powerful bike after a couple of years of only riding my 350s. In reality, I never really noticed the extra weight and I felt right at home on the Super Meteor straight away, so that was a huge positive for me. Everything else on the bike worked absolutely fine. The handling was light and nimble. It was very easy to put the bike onto the side of the tyre, something which cannot always be said of larger cruisers. Comfort and ergonomics were also perfect for me. I'm about 5 foot 8 inches tall, by the way, with a 30-inch inside leg. I had the bike for 2 hours. I was on the bike for about an hour of that time, and I managed about 80 kilometers on it. In that time I had no discomfort whatsoever. My backside was pain-free after an hour, so you would have to say that the standard seat is pretty comfortable. The brakes were good, particularly the rear brake, and if you apply both brakes firmly, they pull the bike up quickly enough. So overall I really enjoyed it. It's just a shame that the test as a whole was a bit inconclusive due to the vibration issue I encountered. I mentioned to the dealer that the bike vibrates badly at about 110–120 kilometers per hour, and they were quite concerned and were going to check for possible loose bolts, which I think may be the issue. Since the vibrations were both in the foot pegs and the handlebars, it's possible that the engine may not be properly mounted in the frame. Certainly the vibration was way beyond what you would normally expect of a parallel twin motor. I've ridden my classic 350 at 110 kilometers per hour for nearly 2 hours without experiencing any numbness in my hands. After about 5 minutes at 110 kilometers per hour on this Super Meteor, my hands were already starting to tingle. So I'm sure that there was an issue with this bike, particularly since no other review has mentioned a similar issue, and the vibrations were definitely bad enough that they would have got a mention had they been encountered. So take the vibrations I experienced with a large pinch of salt. I'm sure, as I can be, that there was a problem with this particular bike. The dealer has invited me to come back and ride the bike again once they have confirmed and rectified the problem. So apart from the vibration issue, I really love my time on this bike, and it's definitely still a bike I might be interested in buying. But will I get one? Well, I haven't decided yet. I need a bit more time to think about it. Obviously the vibration issue is holding me back a little bit. The high-speed riding is the part which this bike should do better than my current two, but with this demo bike that certainly wasn't the case. I will probably do a follow-up video next week with my final decision, so stay tuned for that one. I think I should have decided by then. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful and perhaps even mildly entertaining, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers. Blimey Ruby, that was a windy test ride on that Super Meteor. But I noticed the house hasn't been stolen yet, because you looked after it so well. You deserve a sausage. So today's sausages are still from Dan and Valentino, but they're nearly all gone. You're being very patient today, Ruby. Sausages. Thanks, Dan and Valentino. Thanks. Nice one.